Good evening and welcome to the WDSU News Hot Seat. I'm Travers Mackle. Tonight, we continue our debates on local races to help you, the voter, stay informed as Election Day is fast approaching. Up tonight, the race for clerk of Civil District Court in Orleans Parish. Now, for decades, that position was held by Dale Atkins. Last year, Atkins was elected to a seat on the State Court of Appeals, leaving the post open for civil court clerk. The court clerk handles and manages all of the filings at one of the area's largest and busiest courthouses, Orleans Parish Civil District Court. Each year, there are thousands upon thousands of lawsuits filed in that courthouse dealing with everything from car wrecks to family issues to class action lawsuits. Two people have qualified to run for the seat. Both are Democrats. Jared Brossette, who's a former state representative, currently represents District D on the New Orleans City Council. Brossette is in his second term on the council. And Chelsea Richard Napoleon, a lawyer and longtime employee of the clerk's office. Napoleon is the acting clerk of court right now, a role that she's held since Miss Atkins was sworn in as a judge this spring. We invited both candidates to be here tonight. Mr. Brossette told us that he is respectfully declining, citing a busy schedule campaigning and working on the council. So, Ms. Napoleon, we'll start with you. First off, first question, why do you feel you're the best candidate to serve as civil court clerk in the city of New Orleans?
Well, Travis, first let me thank you for having me this evening. I really appreciate it, to give me the opportunity to address the citizens of Orleans Parish. I am the best candidate for the clerk of Civil District Court because first, I am running because I want to serve the people. I want to serve the community of Orleans Parish in the specific role as Clerk of Civil District Court. I have uniquely prepared myself, both in my experience with the clerk's office, having served in the office for over 16 years, working as Chief Deputy for over 11, and now being your Clerk of Civil District Court. Also, I graduated from Benjamin Franklin for high school. I received my bachelor's degree and my master's degree from the University of New Orleans. I received my law degree from Loyola, where I attended at night, worked at the clerk's office during the day, and raised my daughter. So as I stand before you, I have specifically trained myself and positioned myself to continue to serve as the Clerk of Civil District Court to provide quality public service to Orleans Parish.
Let me ask you this question, because a lot of lawyers have asked me to ask this question. You have more than 100 employees that you currently manage right now that are on staff there. If elected, what will you do to make sure that civil court in the clerk's office runs more efficiently?
Okay. Well, let me start by saying I'm not waiting until the election in order to make some improvements within the office to continue the legacy that has already been created. On last Monday of last week, I opened a new filing location for the Clerk of Civil District Court's office on the first floor of the courthouse to better serve the citizens of Orleans Parish. Additionally, being in the community, I learned from seniors that they needed additional assistance from my office. We already had someone who would help you search your family records, history records of property within the system. However, I learned that seniors needed assistance using the mouse even before they get to the software to search for their property. So July 23rd, I implemented a senior research clerk, staffed by someone who retired from my office with over 20 years of experience in our land records division, who returned and I rehired her as a retiree who works 3 days a week, and she is focused on assisting seniors. So I am already implementing measures to add efficiencies to my office.
What will you do to update the filing system? A lot of lawyers that we talked with and members of the public feel like there's an e-filing system right now at federal court. Is that something you're looking to make electronic filing a possibility for lawyers here in Orleans Parish?
Well, let's talk about that, because a lot of lawyers I talk to love the system that we have in place, which is an electronic filing system. Our clerk's office is one of the most technologically advanced clerk's offices in the state of Louisiana. We are considered a best practice for the clerks across the state. This February, we presented our electronic filing system as a best practice at the Clerks Institute, which is the forum where the clerks from across the state come to learn best practices. So we are an innovative and best practice system for our electronic filing. And the attorneys who use that system love it and use it more and more. That being said, I also have experience in creating that system, so I have some things that I'm already working on adding to it.
Is it possible for lawyers to file from their office? Will that possibly be one day something that you're looking forward to if elected?
That existed as of July 2017.
Okay.
We went live with our electronic filing system July 2017.
Let me ask you this question. There's a lot of elected positions in the city of New Orleans, and for that matter, the state of Louisiana. A lot of them have been eliminated over time. Recorder of mortgages here in Orleans Parish, elections commissioner in the state of Louisiana. If you can explain this, why should civil district court still be an elected position in Orleans Parish?
It should still be an elected position within Orleans Parish because it is an office that is based on community involvement. What I mean by that is everything that we do impacts someone's day-to-day life. So for example, when someone comes into our office and they need their child custody order or their divorce order, at that moment, that is the most important thing to that person. They should be able to call on someone such as myself in the role as clerk of court to be able to assist them when they come in. We're also responsible for all of the property records in Orleans Parish. When someone comes in, that's one of the reasons it takes a lawyer to be your clerk of civil district court, which I am a lawyer, because we are responsible for the legal processing of your important documents, your civil lawsuits, as well as all of your property records.
A lot of people feel like it's a maze when they come to City Hall. Should your office be next to City Hall? Are there any plans to possibly move civil district court, not just from the judges, but by you if you're elected?
Well, there's a plan that includes the court, the judges, as well as the mayor's office. That has been in discussion for many years over several different administrations, and there's still conversation now. As your clerk of civil district court, I understand that we need a better environment in which to operate. That's one of the reasons as soon as there was space available for me to add the new filing location on the first floor, I did that. I am committed to assisting as we look at building a new courthouse as well to provide an improvement to the service that we have for the public.
Let's talk money. Always a big topic. Filing fees. How much money does the clerk's office take in each year in filing fees? Obviously, you have an intricate understanding of this because you've been the #2 person in that office for a very long time.
Okay, let's talk about the filing fees. Because the filing fees are set by the court en banc, the filing fees are not set by the clerk's office. The fees that are collected within the clerk's office support the clerk's office, supports the court, as well as funds that are collected statutorily, such as the Judges Supplemental Compensation Fund, the Indigent Legal Fund, as well as other fees that are assessed, including the Judicial Building Commission. So as the funds come into the clerk's office, they are distributed and allocated to several different areas.
We're going to talk about some of those areas briefly here, but is there an excess in filing fees? I guess, does your office have a surplus right now? And if so, how much?
No, my office does not have a surplus. That is a rumor that is going around, but that shows how people don't know what we do at the clerk's office. Because when you look at how much we collect in fees and you look at the amount of work that we do, because we are committed to preserving the records. Our records date back to the 1700s. We have historical records in French, Spanish, and other languages. All of that requires conservation, meaning treating those documents so that they can be preserved for future generations, just as we have access to those documents now. Those documents require imaging, scanning. We have several projects going on in my office to move our office forward and create greater access to justice.
So let me ask you this, because we want to ask questions that constituents in Orleans Parish, as well as lawyers that use your court, want to know. A lawyer brought this up to me, and it's an interesting question. Should the civil clerk's office profit off of lawyers and litigants, and do they?
First of all, the civil clerk's office does not profit off of lawyers and litigants. As stated, it's the court en banc that sets the fees that are collected within the clerk's office. So if there is a requirement or a request to make a change to the fee structure, that's where those questions will go. In terms of the fees that are collected by the clerk's office, those dollars are used to provide services to the citizens of Orleans Parish. That is how we were able to create and implement our electronic filing. That is how we are able to continue imaging documents day to day. That is how we are able to have backscanning projects going on both in our land records division and in our civil division to make documents more readily available to you, the customers that we serve.
After Hurricane Katrina, there was a plan, albeit briefly, to merge criminal district court and civil district court. Never came to fruition. That plan did not happen. Is that a good idea or a bad idea?
Whether or not you decide to merge the courts, you have to look at whatever research was used in reviewing that, which I was not privy to. I know that there's been movement to make that decision, and they changed their minds for whatever reason. So I have no insight on what occurred as it related to that. What I can tell you is that having consolidated the land records offices, the custodian of notarial archives, recorder of mortgages, registrar of conveyances, has created an efficiency within my office and a benefit to the citizens of Orleans Parish. I was the person in the clerk's office responsible for the implementation of the consolidation of those 3 separate and distinct offices, which were abolished on January 1st, 2009, and consolidated into the clerk's office on January 1st, 2009. So overnight, we grew and had an additional division, which I continue to serve you with today.
What are some of the key things you think filing fees go to, and could they be directed any other place, in your opinion?
Okay. Key things that filing fees go to are, of course, staff, because people are our biggest resource. So it is important that we provide staff with an opportunity to have not just a job at the clerk's office, but a career, such as myself, to be able to make that a long-term career opportunity to grow and develop within the office, which also makes them better able to provide quality service to the public because they are trained and they are knowledgeable and able to assist people when they are coming into our office. We also use those dollars to create better systems for use when you come in, such as the creation of the new filing system, the creation of the land record system, the scanning projects, all to be able to better serve the community of Orleans Parish.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how is your relationship with the judges at Civil District Court? 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest.
Well, I would say my relationship with the judges of Civil District Court is at a 10. The reason that I would say that is because, keep in mind, I'm not new to the clerk's office. So whenever the judges would need some information or have a question about something that we would do, as chief deputy, those questions would be directed to me. So I have a relationship, a working relationship with all of the judges within Civil District Court.
All right, finally, as we wrap up here, Ms. Napoleon, in about 30 seconds, if you want to let voters know why you feel you are the best candidate to represent them and to hold the office of Civil District Court Clerk.
Okay. I am the best candidate to represent the citizens of Orleans Parish because I want to represent you, specifically as your clerk of Civil District Court. I am asking for your vote and support to continue to serve you in that specific role. As I am here this evening, and I am glad to be able to be here and share with you, I also was looking forward to having a healthy, clean debate about myself, as well as a comparison between me and the other person that is in this race. So I am here because I value you and I want to serve you, and I am asking for your vote. On November 6th, early voting is October 23rd through the 30th. I am number 53 on your ballot. Chelsea Richard Napoleon, Clerk of Civil District Court.
All right, Ms. Napoleon, we appreciate your time. And once again, just to be clear, there are 2 candidates running in this race. The other is Jared Bressette. We did invite him to participate in this forum, in this debate. He respectfully declined. You can catch everything that we just discussed right here on WDSU.com starting on Monday, and of course on all of our social media apps.